Let me see. I think we are live, correct?
Ardeshir, we are live. I am super excited to welcome you and do this with you today. So, welcome to the Unhustle Human Work Studio broadcast. We're live. We have some people joining us as we speak. Welcome, everybody. Say hi. Say hi. I am the founder of Unhustle, and I am here with Ardeshir from Human Work Studio, and we're going to talk about how leaders can lessen the stigma of mental illness and create emotionally healthier cultures. And I want to dive deeper into your framework with the emotional bill of health. How does that sound? Let me just check in real quick. I want to make sure we're live. We have people on there. Excellent. So feel free to jump in and leave any questions and comments as we're going along, and we will kick it off. Ardeshir, are you ready?
I I am. Thank you. What a cool topic. Thank you.
Ready or not? Here we go. All right. So let's start off a little bit with your background story. Why did you get into what you're doing in the first place?
Got it. Thank you. And maybe for answer that, so the topic that I'll be talking is about mental health and depression. So 3 months ago, I left my corporate job to do this work full time. And dear friends, that Ardeshir, don't talk about depression. Depression is depressing. You're not going to have any work. Like nobody wants to talk depression. They want to talk about health, about resiliency, and so on. And I told them that's actually is the problem. Depression is not about illness. It's about the life unlived. It's about the narrative of life being diverted and held back. Depression is about life. So my goal is to bring depression out of the shadows, out of the basement to our meds, and really use the power of depression to live again and make it sexy, make it cool so we can talk about it. So I went to this field. I didn't know I'll be doing this work. In fact, I didn't want to become a psychologist. I thought people are crazy. Wanted to go to agriculture. So I went to graduate school, New York City, Columbia University, my PhD, I triple major, psychology, psychoanalysis, organizational field, and research. I did my clinical training in Bellevue Psychiatric Hospital and also Columbia Counseling Center, and multiple masters, double major, undergraduate. And I really wasn't after studying. I was trying to answer a single question. Why am I hurting so much? Why me and my brothers, sisters, mom and dad? There was a lot of sorrow and pain in my family, and I didn't want to die that way. So it was really unpacking what is suffering. And I learned very early on, psychologists totally miss that. They go after the symptom. And it's becoming a lifelong passion for me. Get the education, credentials, but learn through life about why we suffer. So use that experience and show people suffering, as Buddha said, pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. We don't have to suffer. That's my gift.
And you're amazing at what you're doing. You've dedicated so much of your life to studying this, and you have the accolades to really show it. I mean, you're a psychologist, a business transformation leader, researcher, leadership coach. You have a PhD and a MED from Columbia University in New York City in organizational counseling and quantitative psychology. And I feel really drawn talking to you because you put things really simply and put them into perspective. And you actually send me your framework, which I really want to unpack this a little bit about. You came up with the emotional bill of rights. So go ahead and explain this a little bit. I'm going to drop a link in the chat where people can download that, if that's okay with you.
Great. Absolutely. Thank you. Before we go there, Milena, thank you for your compliments. I want everybody to know how wonderful you are. When I met you, I was thinking I want to spend time with this woman. So, so I encourage
Oh,
everybody get to know Milena, and she actually is living a life of purpose. I mean, you're incredible. And you're a role model for me. So
oh, thank you. You're too kind.
no, I do mean it. So emotion bill of rights. So what I learned, if you go to psychologist and tell them you're depressed, they follow a list of questions coming from American Psychiatric Association about the symptom of depression: sleep, habit, the attention span, and so on. It's about a dozen questions. You can answer those questions and your depression can totally go undetected. So spending all this time in organization, seeing leaders across multiple years in their career, men and women, I start to see a human story that goes unnoticed a lot of time to themselves. So let me give you some statistics. My focus, very keenly aware of, is that depressed high achievers, depressed executives. We know from research that up to 50% of leaders, people in high achieving roles, which I believe that actually everybody's on this call high achievers, 50% are depressed. Majority, they don't know it. Depression goes subterranean. That you don't notice it because you're busy with life, making money, different spouse, house on the hill, amazing trips. But depression is like acid in the kitchen pipeline. It burns you. And so what happened, I would travel with those individuals. These are leaders all the way to CEOs. And then I would see their briefcases and purses. And I see all these bottle of pills. What is that for? Gastrointestinal, a lot of diarrhea and constipation, for cardiovascular, for all sort of body ailment. So we've come to the point we don't even understand depression, and we don't have a language for it. That what we look at. So as I start to listen to those individuals, and I did some back of the napkin, there are well over 1,200 people that I worked, either coach, therapist on teams, that there was a consistent message, consistent narrative that was coming back over and over. The details were different, the verbs and adjectives, whether you're in Europe, in Asia, or South America, was different. The story was the same. What people were looking for as depression is that part of them was lost during growing up and had nothing to do with success, with wealth, and so on. They were looking back to go home to the person they knew somewhere along the way and lost that person. If you listen, that story comes up. And the invitation for folks on this call is this experience is personal, that with your family member, with your loved one, with your children, with your at work, if you listen, people will tell you, but you need to ask a different question. It's not about their symptoms. It's about what's going on in your life. Tell me more. And they tell you those Bill of Rights. So what the Bill of Rights talk about, there has been 7 human needs. They've been all around us. You go to Greek philosophers, Picasso, the poets. There's so much music around that. I have my whole Spotify around that. The playlist that people talk in terms of Bill of Rights as about human experiences that we are wired to fulfill in our life, to experience them. When we have that, we're almost like a rock of Gibraltar. And when we don't, that's where depression comes in. Depression is a sign that says, hey, you get back on track. You have a life to live. You can't numb it. You can't drink it. You can't take medication. It's really getting back to those basics. And there are 7 needs. If you go to that document that Milena sent, you can use it and apply it in your lives.
Thank you, Ardeshir. So I shared the link on a LinkedIn Live directly to the Dropbox folder. If somebody's struggling to get that link, you can email me and I will send you the link as well. I don't have a landing page for it of sorts, but let me just go over some of the things you've put together because it's done so well. So your 7 emotional needs is I am having a
Mhm.
sense of meaning in your life, your
Yes.
work, your identity, your gusto, right?
Mhm.
Um, I matter. So that's
Mhm.
the feeling of being respected, dignity, appreciation. I belong, which
Yeah.
is the feeling of emotional bonds, connection, love, grace, oneness. I am boundless, which is being physically active, energized, having body agency, engaged, and aligned with nature.
Yeah.
I am complete, which is feelings of being present, whole, safe. I make
Yeah.
feelings of ownership, potency, impact, control. And I soar, stepping into your life's calling, your purpose, your destiny. Which one of these can somebody experience simultaneously,
Mhm.
or is it more of a just one emotion at a time? How can somebody is there a hierarchy of
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
emotions?
Great question. Great question. So, so as you start to read that Bill of Rights, first familiarize yourself with those needs. They exist in all of us, whether at work, at home, relationship, and so on. But at any given point in our life right now, usually about two or three are at play. Two or three that come up. Usually there's one that calls you, inspires you, mystifies you. For me, it's I soar. There's the flip chart behind me is words of Maya Angelou, which I have it all over my house. That says that there's no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. Everybody has a story. Our children have a story. So it's for me, Ardeshir, you have a story. When I take my last breath, my story's done and I'm done. So what is your bill of right that calls you right now? Then there's usually another one that torments you, sense of heaviness, sense of regrets. Oh my gosh, I've been ignoring this for so long. And you feel tightness in your stomach, in your chest, and your body, you ache for it. Um, and then there's another one that gives you stability. It's your foundation. For me, I belong. I have a amazing family, spouse, my son, beautiful golden retriever that never lets me get rest. But pay attention about what calls you, what torments you, what gives you stability as a way to know what you need to do right now and follow the energy. That energy will guide you.
I love everything that you're saying. Absolutely. Because I think that once I figured out my I soar, it was a life changing experience for me.
Mhm.
And, it took me a long time to figure it out. I'm sure you can shorten that process by a lot. I spent a lot of time reading and researching and sitting still and trying to uncover what is it exactly that life wants out of me and all these listening and tuning into your body. And I know you talk a lot about that embodiment leadership and how important it is to kind of get out of our minds more into our bodies and our hearts. So as we move this conversation more into how do we take this mental health conversation into work, can you talk a little bit about embodiment leadership?
Yeah, thank you. Let me answer it in two layers. One, the whole term of an embodiment, and you will hear all of us the term somatic learning, somatic experiences. The field of psychology, psychiatry, developmental, the field is changing radically. That since 150 years ago with Freud, we focus so much on the cognitive verbal communication as a way of healing. Now, what we know, the healing experience actually does not happen in the brain, happens in the body. We were raised to think that body follows the brain. Is the way other way around. Brain follows the body. The way body experiences that shapes our connection. So here's an example. Whether you're at work or at the in your own family, usually you meet somebody, and it is if you have some level of relationship and candor, you can ask. Typically, we ask, "Tell me how you're feeling," or "How are you feeling?" What comes up is series of narratives of "I'm feeling sad," "I feel good," "I feel depressed," "I feel anxious," and so on. The range of emotions we have are exponentially bigger than the range of words we have. Another way to ask that, again, you need to have some level of candor. So that, what are you sensing in your body right now? What comes up for you? What you will see, people may say, I feel tight around my hips. My knees are hurting. A lot of people that I work with, they talk about tightness around their chest, around their neck, around their jaws, around lower belly. All of these are signal of emotions stored. And our role is not to go right away say, "Hey, what does that mean?" Ask them, what else come up? What does it mean to you? So inviting them to be in the presence in their body and sharing that. So some of this work I did for my previous employer, which was Roche and Genentech, with innovation teams that they wanted to break out, accelerate go-to-market cycle time. The issue for them was that people wanted to feel comfortable, be in their skin, and do tough work. So once we did some breathing center and exercise, part of that was, what are you sensing right now? And using the Bill of Rights. So what would come up is that we will learn that some people are not feeling safe. They don't feel they belong to each other. That if they say something, that they can get judged. This is I am. So they couldn't say it, but they felt it. So with some of the practices we had was your body and the rate of 8 to 1 senses something faster than your brain picks it up. Your body right away knows it. Brain needs to think about it, give it a word to say that. But if you invite people to pay attention, notice, breathe, choose to say something, the discussions become a lot more real, practical, and meaningful. People get stuff done. So that's one example about how you can actually change the team culture. The role of the leader. I'm not a fan of leaders coming and advocating mental health practices. Leaders, they all want to do the right things. Once leaders learn practices I mentioned, they can role model it. That actually invite people, how are you feeling? How does being in this meeting feels? And giving them some language, some practices that if this happened, what would you do? Leaders, part of the team, create an environment of conversation, honesty, and getting things done. The goal here is, and this is my vision, we can create teams, families, schools that they are inherently healing. That healing happen in the nucleus of our teams and relationships. My hope is that very soon we'll be done with subcontracting healing to psychologists like me, to coaches. Healing should belong to where people are together. What I'm talking about are practical skills. We can do them. We can learn them, apply them. I'm sorry if I give you long responses.
Yeah, no, I love everything you're saying, because that's what I tell my clients. I studied all these embodiment practices, and I'm using them when I talk with people and coach people. And it's amazing how powerful they are. I feel like we're so disconnected from our bodies and so simple they are, slowing down, breathing, feeling your body. What is this telling you? Like, that's
Right.
where your intuition lives. That's where, your wisdom, the wisdom of the body. Why are we so disconnected from our bodies? I really don't know. I really don't know. It would just go, 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 go. We're just up in our heads all the time. And to your point, I agree with you. When I work with somebody, I'm like, I don't want to coach you all the time. I want to teach you how to self
Wow.
coach yourself because I don't live in your body.
That's right. That's right. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. May I build on what you just said about people who are in their heads? So I share that with my friends and colleagues that when you go to social media, there are so many wonderful posts. 10 step to calm your brain, 10 step to relax, 10 step. And I share them. Don't read that. Don't contribute that. Those are manifestation of somebody who's trying to do a good job, but they're really creating sense of being in your head. When you're in our head, some people say monkey brain or analytical brain that doesn't stop. What it means that we are not in our bodies. So basically, it's our computer here is trying to land somewhere and there's no place to go. So brain thinks more. What is the answer? What is the answer? So what happens is means three things are at risk. One is you're not in your body, sensing, being around is feeling your body, breathing, so that your brain, your body are connected. Number one, you probably are feeling disconnected to another human being, to your environment, to yourself, that you feel that you are alone, disassociated. The third one is that you feel you don't have much control, agency. So when those three things happen, presence, connection, and agency, brain takes off. Brain tries to figure out a way for you out of this. The way to come out of it actually is pretty simple. Find, show the brain where the home is your presence, in your connection, in your agency. And what you notice instantaneously, your monkey brain disappears. You become whole. And again, all of these are very practical ways for us to calm ourselves.
Amazingly simple.
Yeah, you just had a great breathing. Let me invite everybody together, wherever you are. I know people calling from US, Canada, and Europe. Take some deep breath. That's your hands on your knees, and then just you feel your back against the chair. Ground yourself.
Amazingly simple.
We are, so that's exactly it. I mean, we humans are complex. We are not complicated. We complicate things. We are designed. Our healing is already designed. Nobody taught us the owner's manual. We are designed for healing. So depression is when you're out of whack. Get back to your original design. Everything is already here. You have it.
Mm. So, Ardeshir, after this nice little breathing practice, what can leaders do to create more of an emotionally healthier culture, even more so? Like, if somebody's sitting here and they go, yeah, breathing body, I can't get people in my bodies, what else can they do?
Going back to what I mentioned, body, the next one is connection. The opposite of depression is not happiness, is not resiliency. The opposite of depression is connection, fulfillment. So when we feel depression, and I know colleagues, myself included, for so long, I came to accept I am depressed. That depression means you are disconnected to you, to your life, to your essential being, the seven needs. So what leaders can do, start with yourself, connect to who you are, to your needs, what matters to you. Once you do that, you become kinder, softer, manage the tasks, the bottom line, but also pay attention to people part. The next one is having a conversation with people around you around the emotional bill of rights. So as I came out of depression, I realized that my wife and I, we were not seeing each other, or at least I wasn't seeing her. I was in such a state of darkness. So what we started to do, and I started with me, just seeing her journey of seven rights and what she needs to do for her to be fully fulfilled, and honoring her, seeing her and being of support for her. So as leaders, you can create that. So as a part of the team, everybody around the team, those needs matter, but people are different placed in that journey. We can create environment that I help you to fulfill your needs. You help me fulfill my needs. And in that context, we are kinder, more mutually supportive beings together. So what leaders can do almost in all time, head of the tribe, around campfire, create conversation for fulfillment. How do we create a team environment that everybody matters, all needs are matter, we have tough work to do, ambitious deadlines, but let's take care of each other. That's the role of the leader, to play the role of the wise person, create wholeness for conversations.
How do you do that in a remote or hybrid work environment? Does that look like more meetings?
Actually, no. So what is beautiful about this work, virtual work or in person really is irrelevant. Is the quality of connection and conversation, slowing down, allowing each person unfolds in different ways. So the same way that I noticed that you had the very wonderful deep belly breathing, for me to see that, honor that, and say, Milena, that was wonderful. Let's breathe together. So as a leader, to create that environment for people show up, do what's needed, and honor that, create a space for that. It really has nothing to do in person, virtual. Is about how do you create that opening, being a tone that people need, be in their body, need to connect, and need to feel a sense of agency. What can we do together?
Right. Right. Would you say then the job of the leader is just to provide the open and safe environment for everybody to speak up?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And knowing that the Bill of Rights, that's the reason I use that term very intentionally, almost like United States, the Bill of Rights. These are civil rights. We all expect that for each other, from our leaders, from community, so on. Bill of Rights, it's our rights. Parents don't give it to us. Teachers don't give it to us. Managers don't give it to us. It's given to us by the chairman of the board. That's the only one we are held accountable to. Is our work to create a space to everybody do their own work, feeling sense of fulfillment. And that's the role of the leader, create that space.
I want to go back to your story a little bit, and the point that you were in a very key leadership role, recently married, when you realized you're depressed.
Mm-hmm.
So you were going through, everything seemed fine on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
From the outside perspective, yet internally you felt depressed. And you can do some self-coaching in that process. But what were the steps for you? How did you realize you were depressed, and how were you able to get out of it?
Yeah. Thank you for this question. And every time I answer that, I do get choked up, because really I came back from the dead. So it was the 2012, August 2012. And by that point, I've been to 7 psychologists, different style, trying to heal my depression, psychiatrists, medication. And I felt they were paying attention to my symptoms. They were missing me. Robin Williams has a saying that people don't fake depression. They fake being okay. So I'm at work, and by nature, I'm a high energy person. I don't have any crazy habits. I don't drink much, 2 glasses, 3 cup of coffee. That's all I do. And And I would tell people I'm depressed. Some people say, "Oh, Ardeshir, you're so happy. You're not depressed. You're just feeling down. Go take a vacation and so on." But I know deep down I was dying. So what came in the summer of 2012, and I started to really, I feel I would go to work and I couldn't write a simple email. Basically, my body was shutting down. That's what, those are early sign of suicide. That when you go to, you feel your body's closing in, your chest is closing. And I feel that my cognitive thinking, I couldn't even think through work anymore. It was one Sunday in August 2012. I don't know exact date, but I remember that morning, two questions came to my mind. I guess somehow the universe realized this soul is not getting it with all those years of education, but he's a researcher. Let's give him two questions. Maybe he can figure it out this time. So one question was, they came back to back. Some of it was fuzzy thought that, what is depression? Next one was, what am I depressed about? I remember there was almost like a sense of jolt in me that at that point I've had the early stages of, the Bill of Rights. Somehow I was seeing the work, but the work was very fragmented. I start to realize that after 150 years of modern psychology, we talk about the depression symptoms, but we don't understand depression. Depression is grieving, a yearning for needs for life unfulfilled. And when I went to, so what am I depressed about? We just don't get depressed. We get depressed about certain things, certain experiences. That created a 10-year process for me that go find myself. So Milena, this is the freakiest experience. And I hope if there's anybody on this call that feels depression, first, please continue with the therapy, with medication. Don't change anything because of listening to this one. But there will be a day, if you go the route I'm sharing with you, you will wake up. You're not depressed. Your doom and gloom and black clouds are lifted. What you feel instead of being depressed, you're pissed. I don't want to waste time anymore. I'm a man on the mission and a woman on the mission. I want to get things done. So the way it happened for me, found a way to claw myself coming out of this. And I start to share that with my clients, with family, with my brother, sister. And I realized people are shifting, they're changing, going from suffering to says, hurts were coming back, things that conversations that they were held back. So at this point, my work is bring this to the world so that we should not suffer anymore. Suffering is yesterday's science. Go back, get back to life. Almost like the image that I have is the first movie, Rocky, that he's on the city hall of Philadelphia. Da, 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 da. That's my vision for you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time. I want to be mindful of your time. I know you have a lot of things to do, so I appreciate you sharing your wisdom with me and with everybody who tuned in. I'm going to check in to see if there are any comments. And if there aren't, where can people connect with you?
Thank you. So you can find me on LinkedIn. My website is that's a www Human Work Studio. Write me a note. With social media, it's easy to find people. If this resonates with you, if you want to join forces, if you want to create a revolution within a revolution, let's do that. But don't suffer. We need to change the equation that psychology, like we told us, something wrong with you. No, you have a life to live. You are not going from third gear to fifth gear. That's the way you come out of depression. Then join us, join Milena, join me. Let's create a better world.
Thank you so much, Ardeshir. I really appreciate your knowledge and wisdom today and coming on live here to share your emotional bill of rights. If anyone wants to grab that from me, email me at milena@unhustle.com or reach directly to Ardeshir at Human Work Studio. humanoids.com. Thanks so much.
Thank you,
And
my friend.
keep sharing
Pleasure
the
to see
light.
you.
I'm
Thank
joining your
you.
revolution.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. Be well
Bye.
wherever you are.